They mocked me at New Year's dinner. One black card ended their laughter forever. My wife's family looked down on me when she served me divorce papers at the New Year's dinner, assuming I was poor. But when I paid the bill with a secret black card that made the waiter tremble in fear, the laughter stopped forever, and their nightmare began. My name is Cameron Dorsey, and I was sitting right in the middle of what was supposed to be a lavish New Year's celebration at one of Houston's most exclusive restaurants. 40 of my wife's relatives and business associates filled the private dining room, their voices loud with champagne-fueled confidence. The table was loaded with prime rib lobster tails and that massive roast pork centerpiece Melanie had insisted on ordering. Everyone was toasting to fresh starts and bigger deals in the coming year. Then Melanie slid an envelope across the table toward me. No hesitation, no private conversation, just right there in front of everyone. I opened it and saw the divorce papers inside. She didn't even look away. Instead, she gave a small, tight smile, like she was finally unloading something heavy. The room didn't go silent at first. A few chuckles started near the head of the table, where her father Ronald sat like he owned the place, which in his mind, he probably thought he did. He raised his glass and boomed to new beginnings and to clearing out anything holding us back. He looked straight at me when he said it. By the end of January, Cameron here will be out on the street where he belongs. No more freeloading off Ramsey money. That got the laughs rolling. Her mother Carol clapped lightly, her diamonds catching the chandelier light. Addison, Melanie's younger sister, leaned over and whispered something to the cousin next to her, loud enough for me to catch the word, broke. More laughter spread like wildfire. Someone down the table yelled, "Don't worry, Cameron, maybe you can fix pianos for tips to pay rent." The whole room erupted. 40 people all connected to the Ramsey real estate empire celebrating my humiliation like it was the countdown to midnight. Melanie just sat there watching. She didn't stop them. She didn't defend me. She joined in with a soft laugh, like this was all part of the plan. I didn't react. I didn't raise my voice or slam the table. I just reached for my water glass and took a slow sip while the mockery kept coming. They thought they had me cornered, thought I was the peaceful guy with dirty fingers from working on old pianos, the one who couldn't possibly fight back. They'd spent years treating my silence like weakness. Tonight they were about to learn how wrong they were. When the waiter came by with the check, a bill that had to be well over $15,000 with all the wine and extras flowing, I raised my hand calmly. "I've got this," I said. "Put the whole thing on me, every bottle, every course, the private room fee." The laughter spiked again, sharper this time. Ronald leaned forward, red-faced from drink and triumph. "Sure, kid. Go ahead and try. We'll all wait for the decline." I pulled out my wallet and handed the waiter a matte black card. No logo, no bank name, just heavy metal with engraved lettering. The young waiter took it, glanced down and froze. His face went pale. His fingers shook as he gripped it like it might burn him. He didn't swipe it. He didn't move toward the terminal. He just stared, then looked up at me with wide eyes before turning and hurrying toward the back like he'd seen a ghost. The room started to quiet down. A few confused murmurs replaced the laughs. Melanie frowned. Ronald barked, "What's the holdup? Run the damn thing already?" But the waiter was already gone, disappearing through the kitchen doors. And in that sudden hush, something changed. They could feel it, the air getting thicker, the confidence cracking just a little. They had no idea what was coming. If you want to know how one card flipped their entire world upside down and turned their victory celebration into the biggest mistake of their lives, stick around till the end, because the revenge that followed was cold, calculated, and left them with nothing. Drop a like if you're ready for instant karma served Texas-style. Subscribe to the channel for more stories of hidden power and epic payback. And hit that notification bell so you never miss when the tables turn. Let's get into it. A few years earlier, I never thought I'd end up married into one of Houston's old money real estate families. I've always been hands-on with my work. For over a decade, I've run a small workshop in the Heights area specializing in crafting and restoring high-end pianos. We're talking grand pianos from the early 1900s, Steinways, with cracked soundboards, or custom builds for serious musicians. My days start early sourcing rare woods, like Brazilian rosewood or European spruce, shaping keys by hand, tuning strings, until the tone rings true. It's precise physical work that leaves my fingers rough and my clothes smelling like varnish and sawdust. I make a solid living from it, enough to cover my truck payments, tools, and a modest townhouse without needing handouts. I drive a pickup because I haul heavy cases and lumber, not because I can't afford something flashier. Fashion never mattered much. Steel-toed boots and flannel shirts get the job done when you're wrestling a 9-foot concert grand into place. To a lot of people in Houston's upscale circles, what I do looks like blue-collar grind. But to me, it's closer to art, taking something worn down by time and bringing back its voice. I grew up in a peaceful suburb outside San Antonio, raised by my mom after my dad passed young. She taught me early that real worth comes from what you create with your own effort, not from who signs your paycheck. That mindset stuck. I never chased approval from the country club crowd. I knew my value. That's probably why when I met Melanie Ramsey at an antique show in the Galleria area, things clicked so fast. It was about 5 years ago. I was there scouting for vintage piano parts, an old ivory key set, or decorative case hardware. She was browsing furniture pieces dressed sharp, but not overdone, pointing out details on a turn-of-the-century sideboard like she really appreciated the craftsmanship. We ended up talking near a display of restored instruments. She asked about the action on a baby grand I was examining, and I explained how the hammers and dampers worked. Her questions were genuine, not just polite chatter. Turns out she played a little growing up, and she said she admired people who could build things that lasted. Melanie was different back then. Warm, curious a bit, rebellious against the polished world she came from. She told me about growing up in River Oaks, with parents deep in commercial real estate development. Ronald Ramsey headed the family firm, flipping office towers and luxury condos across Texas. Carol handled the social side, hosting events for investors. There was even a younger sister, Addison, already angling for a spot in the company. Melanie admitted the pressure got to her, sometimes the constant talk of deals, image, and legacy. She said she envied my independence, how I answered only to clients who valued quality over connections. We exchanged numbers that day, and she started visiting my workshop on weekends. She'd bring coffee, sit on a stool, while I voiced a set of hammers, asking about techniques I'd learned from mentors. It felt real. She didn't care about my lack of a fancy degree or trust fund. She said she loved watching me problem-solve a warped lid or match veneer grain perfectly. For the first time, someone from that world seemed to see me clearly. We dated steadily. Dinners at low-key spots in Montrose, drives out to Galveston on off days. She opened up more about the toxicity at home, how Ronald dismissed anything outside real estate as hobbies, how Carol judged partners based on net worth. Melanie promised we'd keep things separate, build our own space away from the Ramsey expectations. When I proposed after a 1.5 years, simple ring, quiet evening at Herman Park, she said yes without hesitation. She swore she'd shield me from the worst of her family's snobbery. "We'll set boundaries," she said. "They won't drag you into their games." The wedding was small outdoors, at a venue near the bayou, just what we both wanted. But the Ramseys showed up like it was a board meeting. Ronald spent half the time on his phone. Carol critiqued the floral arrangements under her breath. Addison rolled her eyes at my side of the guest list, mostly craftspeople and musicians I'd worked with over the years. Still, Melanie squeezed my hand during the vows, whispering that we'd handle it together. I believed her. I thought our connection was stronger than their influence. Looking back, those early months after the wedding felt like a buffer. We moved into a townhouse in a decent neighborhood, splitting bills fairly. She started at the family company part-time, handling marketing for new developments. I kept growing my business, taking on commissions from symphony players and collectors. She'd come home excited about a project sometimes, or frustrated with office politics. I'd listen, offer advice when asked. We talked about starting a family eventually, maybe converting part of the garage into a home studio. Melanie still defended me when her parents made digs during rare visits. Ronald once called my workshop cute tinkering. She shot back that it paid better than some of their failed strip mall deals. Carol suggested I dress up more for company events. Melanie told her flat out that wasn't happening. I figured we were solid. That love could outlast the slow grind of disapproval. But pressure builds silently in families like that. Constant whispers expectations disguised as concern. And over time, even the strongest promises start to wear thin. After we settled in Houston, the first couple of years felt like we were still on our own track. Melanie transitioned to full-time at Ramsey Real Estate, managing client relations for high-rise projects downtown. She'd come home energized some nights, talking about closing leases on entire floors or networking at industry mixers. I supported it, attended a few openings when asked, even helped design custom display cases for their sales offices using piano-grade finishes. Weekends often stayed hours. We'd grill on the patio or catch live music in midtown spots. She still appreciated my work, recommending me to collectors who needed instrument restorations. Business picked up. I hired an assistant to handle basic refinishing, freeing me for complex rebuilds. Family gatherings were infrequent, at first holiday brunches or quick dinners at their River Oaks home. Ronald dominated conversations with market forecasts, boasting about land acquisitions in Katy or energy corridor expansions. Carol orchestrated everything perfectly, from catered spreads to seating charts that prioritized partners. Early comments were mild. Ronald might say my career was interesting hands-on stuff, while steering talk back to development yields. Carol suggested I network more at their events, hinting it could open doors. Addison, fresh out of college and interning at the firm, treated me like an outsider, curiosity asking surface questions about tools before losing interest. Melanie brushed it off privately. She'd roll her eyes on the drive home, saying they were stuck in their bubble, and we'd keep distance. But as Melanie climbed, promoted to vice president of acquisitions, the exposure increased. More mandatory dinners, charity galas for real estate foundations. She started asking me to swap boots for loafers beforehand, or skip shop talk because it didn't land with investors. At first it was practical. "Just this once," she'd say. "These people fund our bonuses." I went along, not wanting to create tension at her job. The change crept in slowly. Ronald began introducing me as Melanie's husband. He does something with instruments. Carol pulled her aside at events, whispering about image matching for the company's brand. Addison openly joked about my sawdust-covered truck parked among luxury SUVs. Melanie's defenses weakened. Instead of pushing back, she'd explain it away. Ronald's under stress with the market dip, they're just venting. Or, Carol means well. She wants us secure. I noticed her pulling away during those nights. Phone checks during dinner, late emails. She'd apologize, blame deadlines. Intimacy cooled. Conversations turned logistical bill schedules. The real turning point came about 2 years in. Ronald called a family meeting at their office, claiming it was to protect assets amid a volatile economy. He presented a post-nuptial agreement, thick pages outlining separate property, no claims on future Ramsey holdings. Melanie brought it home that evening, setting it on the kitchen counter like routine paperwork. "It's standard for the firm," she said. "With the new developments leveraged heavy, Ronald wants everything ring-fenced." I read through it that night. It was one-sided. I'd waive rights to any appreciation in company stock or properties acquired during marriage. In divorce, I'd get nothing beyond what I brought in, no support. She sat across from me, fidgeting. "It's not about us," she insisted. "Just legal protection. Everyone signed similar things." I pushed back. This leaves me exposed if things go south. Why now? Her voice tightened. Because the board's watching. If I don't, it looks like I'm not committed. We argued quietly, first real fight. She accused me of distrust. I pointed out the imbalance. Eventually she softened, saying we'd amend it. But days later Ronald involved lawyers directly. Pressure mounted. Melanie relayed concerns, how refusal signaled I was after money. Carol phoned framing it as prudence. Addison texted snide remarks about gold digging reversed. I held firm on one addition of full disclosure clause. Any divorce triggered complete asset audit, every debt-hidden account under penalty. No surprises. Melanie relayed it reluctantly. Ronald grumbled but agreed, thinking it harmless. They had nothing to hide. I signed with the clause intact. It felt like insurance, a small win against the tide. After that, the chill set in deeper. Melanie spent more nights at the office or with family strategy sessions. Home felt like a layover. She stopped visiting the workshop. Excuses piled up exhaustion events. The insults grew bolder at gatherings. Ronald dismissed my income as inconsistent compared to stable development returns. Carol lamented Melanie, settling for someone outside the industry. Addison mocked my calloused fingers at a pool party, calling them unfit for boardroom handshakes. Melanie's response turned to silence, then subtle agreement. "They're old school," she'd murmur later, or, "Can't you just let it go?" I swallowed it, focusing on commissions, a symphony rebuild custom concert grand for an oil executive. Work remained honest, but the erosion was real. The woman who once admired independence now echoed the family's hierarchy, where worth tied to balance sheets. I stayed because traces of the old Melanie surfaced occasionally, a shared laugh, quiet apology. I thought endurance might prove them wrong. It didn't. The rot spread unchecked, layer by layer. A few weeks before New Year's, the cracks turned into something unbreakable. I came home early from a client consult in the Woodlands, wrapping up measurements for a vintage Steinway rebuild. The house was supposed to be empty. Melanie had mentioned a late meeting downtown. But as I stepped through the side door, voices carried from the living room. Melanie and Carol. They must have come straight from the office. I paused in the hallway, keys still in hand. Something in their tone, low, urgent, kept me from announcing myself. "Handle it cleanly before the auditors hit in February," Carol was saying. "The $5 million bridge loan on the Galleria project is underwater with rates spiking. We can't carry it into the new fiscal year." Melanie responded, voice steady but edged. "I know. Cameron's name on the penthouse deed complicates refinancing. If we get him off title soon, we can use it as clean collateral without questions." My stomach tightened. The penthouse downtown, we'd bought it together last year as an investment, my workshop earnings covering part of the down payment. Carol continued, "Exactly. Push the divorce now, make it public at the New Year's event. Humiliate him enough he'll sign anything to escape. Then quit claim the deed over. Forgery backup if he drags feet, but better if he volunteers." Melanie hesitated. "The New Year's dinner's perfect, 40 guests, partners there. Ronald can toast the fresh start, frame Cameron as the problem. Addison's already spreading whispers to soften the ground." "Psychological pressure works," Carol agreed. "He'll crack. No resources for a fight. We saddle him with half the marital debt share, keep the assets. Company survives, image intact." I stood frozen, breath shallow. They weren't just leaving, they were engineering ruin. Push me out penniless, burdened with debt I didn't create while securing the penthouse for their bailout. Melanie added quietly, "He's been distant anyway. This ends the drag." No anger in her words, just calculation. I backed away silently, slipping out to the truck. Drove around aimlessly for hours, processing the betrayal. That night alone in the workshop, their plan looped in my head. Public spectacle to force compliance. Financial trap disguised as separation. My thoughts drifted to the one thing I'd kept buried. A small fireproof box in the safe, hidden behind invoices and tuning tools. It held something from Lowell Dorsey, my uncle, the only relative who ever got me. Lowell lived off-grid in a cabin near Big Thicket miles from any highway. No phone most years, just a beat-up pickup and acres of pine. He'd been a master luthier, once building violins for orchestras before dropping out of society. I spent summers there as a kid after my mom struggled post-Dad's death. Lowell put tools in my hands, early planing tonewood voicing soundboards. He taught precision, how grain direction affected resonance, how patience revealed an instrument's true potential. He never preached wealth. "Money's noise," he'd say by the campfire. "Real strength is silent, doesn't announce itself." People assumed he was broke flannel shirts, home-canned food. But rumors floated old family stake in commercial properties passed down quietly. On my 21st right before heading to apprenticeship in Chicago, Lowell called me to the porch during a rainstorm. He handed me a small metal case. Inside a matte black card. No numbers visible, just engraved name and a strip. Heavy cold. "This isn't for spending," he said, grip firm on my shoulder. "Not toys or ease. It's access to holdings I set aside in trust. Luxury buildings, leases across states." I stared confused. "Why me?" "Because you build things that last, not chase flash." His eyes intense. "Use only when backed into a corner when dignity's all that's left. Hand it where it matters. They'll know." He refused questions about balance or banks. "When needed, it'll speak for itself." Lowell passed a few years later, quiet, alone. Lawyers handled the estate remotely. I got tools and books. The card stayed unused. I built my life on earnings pride in self-sufficiency. But now, hearing the plot debt shift forgery public destruction, it hit. This was the corner he'd warned about. They assumed I had nothing. No leverage. I opened the safe that night, fingers tracing the card's edge. Cold burden familiar after years forgotten. Melanie thought she was discarding dead weight. She didn't know she was opening a door I'd kept locked. For the first time, resolve replaced the ache. I wouldn't beg or confront yet. I'd prepare silently, like planing wood before the reveal. The New Year's invitation arrived days later, formal, insistent. I accepted, acting normal. All while holding the key they'd never seen. New Year's Eve arrived fast. The venue was a private room at one of Houston's top steakhouses, overlooking the downtown skyline, floor-to-ceiling windows, dark wood paneling, crystal chandeliers casting warm glows over white linens. The long table seated exactly 40 Ramsey relatives, key investors, a few board members. Silver platters lined the center, loaded with filet mignon, truffle, mashed potatoes, and the massive roast pork they'd flown in special crackling skin golden apples tucked in the mouth, rosemary sprigs garnishing the platter. Champagne flowed early. Conversations buzzed about pipeline deals, new condo towers, and uptown golf handicaps at exclusive clubs. I sat midway down the table next to Melanie, dressed in the suit she'd laid out, nothing flashy but clean. Arrival chatter included nods my way, polite at first. But eyes lingered on my fingers, the faint calluses visible even under dim light. Service started smooth oysters salad courses. Then Ronald cleared his throat from the head seat glass, raised for an early toast. "To prosperity in the new year," he boomed, "and making bold moves for growth." Glasses clinked, smiles all around. As mains hit the table, servers carving the roast pork juices running the tone turned. A cousin across from me leaned in. "Cameron's still tinkering with those old keyboards. Must be tough keeping up in this economy." A few chuckles. I nodded politely, slicing into the pork. Addison jumped in from Melanie's other side. "Yeah, how many pianos do you have to fix to afford a night like this?" "1, 2. Louder laughs now. Carol smiled thinly. We're just teasing, dear. But seriously, manual work ages the hands fast. What then? Ronald joined voice carrying. It's admirable in a quaint way, like a hobby shop. But real empires need vision developments that employ hundreds, generate millions. Someone else piped up. Heard your truck's seen better days, Cameron. Time for an upgrade. The digs multiplied. An investor asked if I followed real estate trends. When I said not closely, he smirked. Figures. Stick to strings and keys. Melanie stayed quiet initially, fork pushing food around her plate. Tension built through dessert chocolate torts port passed around. Then Ronald stood again, face flushed from drink. Folks, he announced, one more toast before midnight, to shedding dead weight. He turned directly to me. Cameron, you've been part of the family a while, but it's time to admit you don't belong in this world. By February you'll be gone, out of the penthouse off the books, on the street if needed finding your own way. Gasps turned to murmurs, then open agreement. Hear, hear, Addison clapped first. Finally, he's been holding Melanie back forever. Carol raised her glass higher. To her future proper partner, proper life. The room erupted applause whistles. A partner shouted, Good riddance to the piano bum. Another, Don't let the door hit you. 40 voices overlapping mockery. Someone mimicked hammering keys. Laughter roared. Melanie reached into her clutch, pulled a thick envelope, slid it over. I opened it. Divorce papers pre-filled aggressive terms. She met my eyes briefly, then looked away. Sign here, she said loud enough for nearby ears. Make it easy. Ronald grinned wide. Do it now, witnessed by all. Save lawyer fees. Addison leaned across. Come on, don't spoil the party. Just go quietly. More applause surged. Glasses banged tables. Sign. They fed off each other uncles joking about my rustic charm in a shelter aunt's pitying Melanie's mistake. I folded the papers, slowly tucked them inside my jacket. No outburst, no plea. Hand steady, I carved another slice of pork while the celebration of my downfall peaked. The noise crested pure triumph in their voices. They thought this was the end of me. Midnight countdown started distantly from the main room, 10-9. But I sat composed, feeling the envelope's pressure against my chest. The humiliation washed over, sharp and clarifying. They'd scripted the perfect ambush. Yet in that chaos, I knew my line came next. I pulled the card from my wallet. The check had just landed, thick leather folder, total north of $18,000, with the open bar and premium cuts. Servers hovered discreetly. I raised a hand. I'll cover the entire table, I said evenly. Food, drinks, room charge, everything. Ronald snorted first. With what your tip jar savings... Addison giggled. This should be good. Carol waved a server over. Let him try, it'll be entertaining. The young waiter approached cautiously, terminal in hand. I handed him the black card matte finish, no visible numbers, just engraved lettering, and a subtle metallic edge. He glanced at it. Eyes widened instantly. Color drained from his face. Fingers trembled as he gripped it tighter. He didn't swipe, didn't speak. Just backed away slowly, then turned and sped toward the back. Confusion rippled. What's wrong with the kid? An uncle muttered. Melanie frowned at me. Cameron, stop the act. Ronald barked after the waiter. Hey, process it already. Minutes dragged. The room's energy turned from triumph to unease. Midnight countdown echoed faintly from the main hall cheers outside, but in here, quiet grew. Then doors swung open. Not the waiter, the general manager, Mr. Harlan, flanked by 2 suited staff. He strode straight to me, ignoring Ronald's indignant wave. He stopped at my chair, posture straight, expression grave. Mr. Dorsey, he said clearly, using my full name, though we'd never met. We received the owner protocol alert. The table froze. Ronald stood halfway. Owner, what nonsense. Mr. Harlan continued, eyes on me. The card triggered verification with our central trust. It's authentic master key access. Melanie's fork clattered. He gestured respectfully. Dorsey Luxury Holdings oversees this property and 42 others high-end apartments, commercial towers across Texas and the Midwest. You hold executive override and majority equity. Silence hit hard. Jaws dropped. Glasses paused mid-air. Addison whispered, "That's impossible." Carol clutched her necklace. "There must be a mistake." Ronald sputtered, purple. "I know every major holder in Houston real estate. This is fraud." Mr. Harlan turned coolly. "No mistake, sir. Biometric chip confirmed." Legal downloaded the trust docs instantly. A security man stepped forward subtly when Ronald leaned in aggressively. The turn happened fast, grotesque in its speed. An aunt who'd mocked my truck earlier beamed suddenly. "Cameron, we always knew you had potential. Let's chat investments soon." The investor from before extended a hand. "Dorsey Holdings' impressive portfolio. We should partner on that uptown project." Addison flipped instantly. "Your family. This changes everything. Drinks on us next time." Carol's voice sweetened falsely. "We've been too hard on you. Misunderstood your discretion." Ronald forced a grin, sweat beading. "Son, let's talk business. Ramsey could align perfectly preferred rates joint ventures." Melanie reached across, touch light. "Cameron, wait. We can fix this. Come home, we'll figure it out privately." Her eyes pleaded now, fear underneath. I looked around the table, 40 faces rearranged into eager masks. The same people clapping my ruin minutes ago now scrambled for favor. It disgusted me more than the insults. I took the card back from the waiter, who'd returned, pale but composed. "No need," I told Mr. Harlan calmly. "Bill's on me as promised." He nodded. "Complimentary for ownership, sir, but guests pay standard." "Good," Ronald blustered. "This doesn't change the papers." I met his gaze. "It changes everything you thought you knew." Melanie tried again. "Please talk to me." I stood slowly. "Nothing left to say." Addison stammered. "But the family." "You're not my family." I turned to Mr. Harlan. "Thank you for the clarification." He inclined his head. "Always Mr. Dorsey. Private exit if preferred." I nodded. Walked out without looking back, past the groveling, past the sudden respect bought by revelation. Their nightmare had only started. But for me, the burden lifted. The morning after, I headed straight to downtown Houston. A firm affiliated with Dorsey Holdings had offices in a high-rise near the courts. I'd called ahead from the hotel suite I'd booked, Quiet Anonymous. Sarah Klein, lead counsel for the trust, met me in a conference room with views over the bayou. She was sharp mid-40s, direct gaze files already open. "Mr. Dorsey," she started. "The card activation flagged your file. We've monitored quietly per Lowell's instructions." I sat envelope from the night before on the table. "I need everything on my marriage assets agreements." Sarah nodded, pulling records. "Postnup first signed 2 years ago. Your transparency clause is gold mandates, full disclosure of debts, liabilities under perjury penalty." She projected documents. "Ramsey Real Estate's in trouble. $5 million bridge loan on a mixed-use project, rates jumped, cash flow dried. Ronald personally guaranteed part, but hid it during your marriage." I leaned in. "Marital debt?" "Exactly. Without disclosure, it's contestable. But here's worse, they forged your signature on penthouse refinance docs last month. Used it as additional collateral to stall lenders." Proof appeared: signature comparisons, notary flags. "Obvious mismatch," Sarah continued. "Intent force divorce quick, get you off deed via quitclaim, legitimize collateral retroactively. Auditors scheduled soon if exposed pre-divorce fraud charges." Sharp clarity settled. Not just betrayal, criminal setup to bury me in debt while saving themselves. We counter immediately, she said. Demand disclosure. Violation triggers you walk clean, they absorb all. My phone buzzed. Carol, I showed Sarah. Record it. Texas one-party consent. Go ahead. I answered on speaker recorder running. Carol's voice rushed. Cameron darling last night escalated. Meet just us, clear the air. I agreed to a cafe nearby. She arrived, flustered, no diamonds casual coat. Sat opposite, reaching for my hand. I pulled back. Talk. We want settlement, she whispered. Generous cash, 100,000, no contest. Sign the papers quiet. I stayed silent. She leaned closer. The pressure at dinner necessary. You wouldn't budge otherwise. Psychological push to make you want out fast without digging finances. Psychological? Yes, public shame forces compliance. Ronald's idea breaks spirit, you sign blind. We hide the loan mess, you take partial hit unknowingly. She rambled. Melanie's drowning too, merger stress. Bankruptcy ruins her position. You live simple. You'd recover faster. So ruin me to save face. It's business survival, tough love. Recording captured every word admission of orchestrated humiliation intent to conceal debt fraud backup. I stood. Thanks for clarifying. Will you sign? No. See you in court. Back with Sarah, I played it. Her eyes lit. Premeditated abuse evidence for fraud duress claims. We filed motions that afternoon, divorce counter, full audit demand, forgery report flagged. Sarah added, clause violation absolves you from debts. They carry full load personal guarantees, bite. Ramsey panic would hit soon. I left the office lighter. No more enduring. The trap they'd set snapped on them. Preparation complete. Let consequences come. A few days later, we sat in the mediator's office. Neutral space, beige walls, long table, Houston traffic humming outside windows. Melanie across from me, flanked by Ronald and their attorney. Sarah beside me, files stacked. The mediator opened standard explore amicable resolution. Ramsey side went first. Their lawyer argued concealment. I hid Dorsey Holdings during marriage voiding postnup, entitled to equitable share of trust assets. Ronald nodded vigorously. He deceived us, lived modest while sitting on empire. Fair division now. Melanie added softly, we built a life together. Some access seems right. Addison present as support chimed. Family sticks through ups and downs. Sarah countered calmly. Trust predates marriage, irrevocable separate property under Texas law. No marital claim. She slid evidence. More critically undisclosed $5 million liability during marriage. Personal guarantees hidden. Ronald shifted. Business fluctuation. Forbidden by transparency clause. Sarah cut. Violation absolves Mr. Dorsey from debts. All liabilities remain yours. Their lawyer paled at forgery docs, signature analysis, timestamp mismatches on penthouse refinance. Criminal referral filed, Sarah stated. Quitclaim intent, clear fraud to secure collateral. Mediator paused proceedings, briefly noting severity. Ronald blustered lower. Settlement, then keep quiet, split some holdings. Melanie reached toward me. Cameron, we can fix this. Start over. I met her eyes. No. Sarah laid out terms. Clean divorce, Dorsey walks, debt-free deed, solely his no alimony claims. They resisted threats of prolonged litigation connections in courts. Sarah smiled thinly. Your resources dwindle fast. Auditors confirmed loan default imminent without penthouse play. Chapter 11 filing likely within weeks. Ronald deflated visibly. Months later, it unfolded exactly. Ramsey real estate collapsed under debt burden, forced restructuring assets liquidated. Ronald's guarantees triggered personal losses. Forgery probe escalated, district attorney involved, charges pending. Melanie lost her executive role reputation tied to family fall. I kept the penthouse workshop thriving with new commissions from trust networks. No contact since mediation. Blocked numbers changed locks. Walking away, final driving my truck through Houston streets one clear morning. I realized the core truth. People like them measure worth in ledgers and labels, assuming silence means empty hands-on means lesser. They never saw strength in independence, dignity, in earning your place. But real value isn't announced or displayed. It's built note by note, choice by choice. And once revealed, it can't be taken. Looking back, the biggest lesson isn't about hidden wealth or perfect revenge. It's simpler: never let anyone make you doubt your own worth just because you don't fit their mold. Don't judge others by appearances. You never know the full story beneath the surface. And above all, hold on to self-respect. It's the foundation everything else stands on. If someone tries to strip that away, no matter how hard, you'll rebuild stronger. Thank you so much for listening to my story all the way through. I wish you all great health, endless luck, and true happiness in the new year. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more real-life turnaround stories, turn on notifications, and share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Let's spread the message your worth isn't up for debate. See you in the next one.